Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show where we take the information you've given us and really try to pull out the core insights for you.
That's right. And today, it's something a bit unusual we're looking at. A domain name, 7.credit.
Yeah, exactly. We've been looking into why this specific address, 7.credit, is being talked about as, well, a high-value asset, even a digital crown jewel.
Particularly for the financial industry.
So our mission today in this deep dive is to figure that out. What makes 7.credit, which sounds pretty simple on the surface, potentially so valuable?
We'll be digging into a few things there. The symbolism, maybe, of the number 7 itself.
Right, and the power baked into that word, credit, plus, the whole strategy around owning what people call a premium domain these days.
Which just means, like you said, a web address that's really desirable, short, memorable, uses key terms.
Exactly. So think of this as your shortcut to understanding why 7.credit might be a big deal.
Okay, so let's start with the domain itself. 7.credit. The materials we reviewed suggest it's more than just a place online. It's framed as a potential brand identifier, a symbol of authority perhaps, and definitely a positioning tool. What strikes you first about that?
Well, what grabs me is just how much a domain name can mean online now. It's not just coordinates, right? It's communicating something before anyone even gets to your site.
Yeah.
And especially now with digital identity being so important, how businesses represent themselves and decentralized finance or DeFi growing, having something punchy feels critical.
Absolutely. And the sources also touch on, branding psychology. How a name like this isn't just functional, it's trying to connect subconsciously, which leads us nicely into the first part, that number 7.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack 7. It really does pop up everywhere, doesn't it? 7 days, 7 wonders. It
sure
feels almost hardwired.
It's fascinating how universal that is. It's not just a Western thing. You find it across so many cultures, ancient and modern. And in numerology, it often gets linked with intelligence, introspection, even spiritual insight sometimes.
And the business angle, the sources suggest, is that it can subconsciously signal credibility and sort of wholeness or completeness. So the idea is when you see that 7, there might be this subtle positive association kicking in, like trustworthiness.
Kind of like how brands use colors.
Yeah.
Right? Blue for trust, green for nature. 7 might have a similar built-in resonance for a lot of people.
That sense?
Precisely. And the argument presented is that pairing this number with all its positive baggage with a really fundamental word like credit, well, that creates something quite powerful.
Right. It's like you're starting off with this built-in foundation of stability and trust, which, let's face it, is gold in the financial world.
Absolutely essential.
Okay, so let's switch gears. Let's talk about the other half, credit.
Yeah, credit. The source material describes it as essentially the bedrock of global commerce. And it's hard to argue with that, really. It impacts individual spending, business growth, international finance, whole economies. It's fundamental.
There was an analogy in there I thought was quite good. Owning 7.credit is like owning prime real estate on, say, Wall Street, but in the digital realm.
That really drives home the potential, doesn't it? Communicating location, importance, access, just through the address.
Yeah.
And it gives a brand this chance to signal trust, accessibility, maybe even influence. The text also listed specific kinds of businesses that might find this particularly valuable.
Oh, yeah. There was a whole list. Traditional credit lenders, obviously, credit scoring agencies.
Right.
But also online banks, DeFi platforms, Fintech startups, even insurance tech, and places doing Forex or investment education.
It seems like pretty much anyone operating in finance, especially where establishing trust quickly is paramount, can see the appeal.
Which kind of leads to the next question, doesn't it? In today's super crowded online space, how does a premium domain like 7.credit actually give you an edge?
The source uses some strong language there, calling them business weapons.
Huh. Yeah, a bit dramatic, perhaps, but it makes the point. They highlighted a few key advantages. First off, memorability. 7.credit is short, punchy, easy to remember.
Definitely. Then there's authority. It inherently sounds like you know what you're talking about when it comes to credit.
Right. And what about search engines? SEO.
Well, having the keyword credit right in the domain could potentially help with search visibility, getting priority indexing. It makes sense. Plus, it just stands out. Think about all the long, clunky URLs out there. This offers clear brand differentiation.
Yeah, good point. And the global aspect, too. 7, as we said, resonates widely, and credit is a globally understood financial term.
It's not geographically limited.
And you can see why that instant trust factor would be even more important for businesses in regulated spaces, like banking, crypto, insurance.
It's absolutely critical there. So to make this less abstract, the source material gave some concrete examples of how businesses might leverage 7.credit. Did any jump out at you?
I thought the crypto lending platform example was interesting. It's a newer space, sometimes volatile.
Right.
So having a domain like this could immediately project a sense of stability, maturity, build trust faster.
That makes a lot of sense.
Also, the idea for a global credit scoring app, it's intuitive, it's probably good for SEO, like you said, and it just sounds authoritative.
Yeah, those examples really illustrate the potential flexibility. It could work for a challenger bank trying to break through, or maybe an AI-driven financial platform wanting to blend cutting-edge tech with that core feeling of trust.
Or even, they mentioned, like a fintech influencer. Using it as their main brand or landing page, it's quite versatile.
It is. Which brings us to the investment perspective. The sources don't just talk about branding. They position 7.credit as a potential appreciating asset.
Right, tying it into these bigger digital trends, like the growing importance of digital identity, the rise of DeFi.
And also this trend towards brand compression, wanting shorter, more impactful names and domains. All these things are pushing up the value of premium domains.
They even mentioned recent sales figures for other finance-related domains, keywords like credit going for, 5 or even 6 figures.
Which definitely indicates strong market demand for this kind of digital real estate.
Yeah.
And the underlying investment logic is pretty straightforward, really. A domain that instantly signals trust, function, clarity.
Yeah.
It potentially leads to lower customer acquisition costs. Your ads might perform better. Conversions could happen faster. It streamlines things.
Totally. And thinking ahead, with AI and voice search becoming more common, having something short, clear, and unambiguous like 7.credit seems like it would be a real advantage. Easy for systems to parse, easy for people to say.
Exactly. The source material even digs a bit deeper into the psychology, calling the domain's effectiveness a kind of mind hack. What's the thinking there?
Well, it seems to tap into some fundamental human preferences.
Yep.
Like we're drawn to patterns, we like simplicity, and we tend to trust things that signal authority.
Okay.
And 7.credit seems to hit those buttons. It's short, has a nice rhythm.
Yeah, it does.
It combines that symbolic number with a core financial term. You get this sense of legacy or tradition from the 7 and clear utility from credit.
So it's that blend. History meets function. A mind hack for digital dominance, as the source put it.
That's a strong phrase. So wrapping up the analysis, the conclusion seems to be that while not every domain becomes a major brand, 7.credit has the necessary ingredients, the potential to be that digital crown jewel.
And those key ingredients, to summarize, are scarcity, obviously. There's only one 7.credit clarity, its universal appeal, and that deep symbolism we've talked about.
Right. So acquiring it isn't just buying a URL. It's framed as a strategic power play for, ambitious founders, investors, marketers in finance, fintech, crypto.
Makes sense. And the source does provide contact details for inquiries, if anyone listening is in that category.
Yeah. And they end with a pretty impactful statement. This is more than a domain. It's the future address of a financial empire.
Sets the bar high, doesn't it?
It certainly does. So, to quickly summarize our deep dive then, the core takeaway seems to be the potent mix of the number 7, with all its cultural and psychological weight, and the absolute centrality of the word credit.
Yeah, that combination creates something unique, a digital asset with potentially significant built-in value. We've explored how it could benefit various players, giving them memorability, authority, maybe better SEO, stronger branding.
Especially in those trust-sensitive sectors like finance, fintech, and crypto.
Exactly.
And it leaves you with a final thought, really. In this digital age where attention is so scarce, what other symbol combinations out there of symbols and words might hold untapped power? Power to convey complex ideas, build instant trust, makes you think about the value of concise, symbolic, digital real estate in, well, almost any field.